we've got politically correct concern about, oh, there are these thousands of young people, impressionable young people, going over to Syria to fight for ISIS. How are we going to get them back? Why the hell would we want them back?
That's right. There's BBC articles about we need to bring back the jihadis and put them through a seminar to de-radicalize them. That's the cover to bring them back to attack, Paul.
It's amazing.
I got an idea. They're over there blowing up churches and killing people. How about we grab them when they come back, and if they've committed crimes, how about we give them a trial and execute their ass for war crimes? How about a Nuremberg trial? And how about a Nuremberg trial for the people that trained them in our government? How about that, Paul? That's what sounds good to me.
And then the whole narrative in the media is, you know, Pamela Geller was being provocative for drawing these cartoons. It's not about the frigging cartoons when you've got ISIS members who are linked to the Garland attack, openly threatening to attack London, giving precise locations, and CNN's still, you know, impugning Pamela Geller for holding this Muhammad art exhibit. So we can't rely on the mainstream media to draw attention to any of this because they've failed to do so time and time again. In the interest of political correctness, where any criticism of Islam is treated as a hate crime, as Islamophobia.
Meanwhile, Kurt Nemo's got the headline, dubious ISIS terror threat as Patriot Act comes up for reauthorization. I agree with that overall, but no. It's terror wind-up toy released to menace America into accepting the reauthorization of the Patriot Act. Paul Watson, thank you so much. Great job. We'll be back with the second hour. And David Icke, stay with us. That girl, it was Radis or rat or rodent or something. I'm not kidding. I'm not joking. I was supposed to debate the rat, and but then the rats never set up the interview, so then they just claimed I didn't show up, as if I wouldn't show up to a live TV debate. I mean, just, and people are so funny. I was at brunch yesterday for Mother's Day with my parents, and my dad was actually going, you're afraid, like I'm 10 years old, and that it makes me mad. It doesn't make me mad that they're saying I'm chicken. It makes me mad that adults, including my father, are acting like 10-year-olds. That's what's upsetting to me, and that I wish I'd have been on their live. Let's go to the clip of Radis.
Thanks to David. Radio talk show host Alex Jones, who, as David said, has been one of the leading proponents of this theory, had agreed to join us this morning, but he did not show up at our studio. So let's bring back the round
you're in charge, you lying sack of crap.
Boy, this got some real legs, this story, and it certainly had to do
Turn off that. Look at all these people. Look at these mummies. Look at these propagandist jokes.
A vocal minority, and I'm all in favor of it.
Yeah. There's a vocal minority. Everything's fine. There's no police state. There's no NSA spying. There's no open borders. There's no IRS persecuting innocent people everywhere. Oh, wait, there is. Hey, but the good news is Obama and his Obamacare cuts your health care down to, well, it's free. Oh, wait, no, it's not free. It cuts the price down to your phone bill. Oh, wait, doesn't do that. It doubles or triples it. Well, at least there's no death panels. Well, actually, there are. I just am sick of looking at these people. In fact, let's roll some of the video. Back it up 10 seconds where they cut to this one pundit. And he's like, listen, you cannot trust your government. That's fine. But you got to trust the military. Oh, really? Run by the government? Imagine 1939. Hey, Hitler's really bad. How dare you not like the German military? Well, listen, you can say whatever you want about the government, but don't you talk bad about our military. The military was run by Adolf Alois Hitler. It'd be like saying, you can say whatever you want about Lenin or Stalin, but don't you talk bad about our military. Why, anything they do is good. Oh, yeah, right. Great. It's our military that said no to being the Air Force and physically fighting side by side with Al-Qaeda. I had Tosh Plumley, admitted CIA on, to break down the NATO and other sources of arming Al-Qaeda 2 years ago. It's time to get him back on. Had him on this year as well. He had the Justice Department come after him. I mean, he talked to the people who were there in the rebellion, because they'd get there at these airfields to offload weapons, and it'd be jihadis going, "You American trash, we're going to kill you." And there was fist fights and things. I told you this before Plumlee came on. Is that another source? There were fights at these bases. Just like my grandfather worked for oil companies as a lease hand out in West Texas and New Mexico, and he told me some of the stories when I was a kid. My mom would just go, "Well, your grandfather, you know, is kind of eccentric." Because, you know, that's just the eccentric grandpa who actually lived it, about how he almost got in fist fights, and there were fights at these military bases in the West, because that's the only place you could go eat. There's nothing out in the desert but you know, to go eat at the bar where they got chicken fried steaks. And the Germans would be in there from paperclip, shooting their mouths off to the World War II vets about how much better they were and stuff, and people got tired of it. Well, imagine, you're sitting there and there's an Al-Qaeda slob that you're delivering giant crates of weapons to. I just wish our military would have just cut them all down right there. I mean, there's a certain point where people can't put up with this crap anymore. You damn politicians. Including many things that have now been admitted as true, and Navy SEAL families that we talked to who came out and said that it was all made up and that a body double was basically killed. I'll break all that down at the start of the next hour. Jade Helm has blown open worldwide, from the German to the Japanese to the Financial Times of London. It is big. We just have so much to go over. We have this new election in England that is supposedly about giving the UK a voice in the EU. We're going to get David Icke's take on that. Now, David Icke is a very controversial figure. He's a friend of mine. I've met him, hung out with him, been involved with him. He's a very nice guy. He's a trailblazer. He's written a bunch of best-selling books. The first one I read was like 19 years ago. I thought it was completely crazy, and so much of it then began to come true. He said and named pedophiles at the BBC here about 12 years ago, and I delayed him. I delayed him and said, "David, you can't say names on air that haven't been caught yet." And with the Jimmy Savile and others, it all came out just as he said. The hidden rooms, the torture rooms, the necrophilia, all of it. And it just goes on and on. David Icke was a top BBC presenter on entertainment and sports show, champion goalie. He was the head of the Green Party, a rising star, until he had a vision. And it took him years to extrapolate everything that happened in the vision when he was in Peru. Say what you want about it, a mega brainstorm if you're an atheist, whatever. The point is, he's a very interesting individual. And I remember reading one of his books, I even forget which one, about 10 years ago, when I was starting to think, maybe this guy's on to something more than I thought. He was saying the whole universe is a hologram held together by an artificial energy source. Well, last year, MIT came out with these new dark matter sensors. We'll pull those articles up. And they said there's something artificial holding reality together, another energy source much larger, much more powerful. And Science Daily wrote a new article about this a few weeks ago. April 27th, Is the Universe a Hologram? Vienna University of Technology, and says that their mathematical equations, but also models, but also testing in a lab is showing that reality is a projection. And so I wanted to get David Icke on to talk about this till the bottom of the hour. Then we're going to shift gears into ISIS and global destabilization and the pedophile rings and what's at the bottom of the spider hole. DavidIcke.com is his website. He's written 16 books, and he is, again, on the air with us. His first big book, the one that I read, was The Biggest Secret. Thank you so much for coming on.
Pleasure, Alex.
There's a lot to get through. Where are you right now? Are you out there on the Isle of Man?
Isle of Wight. The difference between the Isle of Man and the Isle of Wight is the Isle of Man has it's a tax haven, so the Isle of Wight's not. That's where I.
Well, it's certainly beautiful out there. I haven't been in that particular area, but I've seen videos of it. David, there's so much to get into. I want to talk about the state of the world with you, but let's talk about the state of reality.
Well, the thing is, Alex, you know, I've been on this just past 25 years, just about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and I've had as much ridicule and condemnation from the alternative media, much of it, as I have from the mainstream media. Because my interest is not having a statue built to me or being fated as anything. It is quite simple. It is to get to the bottom of what the heck or the hell is happening in this world and what this world is. And when you do that, it means all the shackles have to come off your mind, your credulity, and you have to become open, not to believing everything, but open to all possibility, and letting the information be your guide rather than preconceived idea. And so that's what I've done. I followed the information, and it's taken me into some very, on the face of it, strange areas, and to some strange and to many people extreme conclusions. But I've said all along that if what you say has validity, then you will eventually be shown to be making some kind of sense. And so, you know, everyone in the alternative media has to take ridicule, dismissal, and condemnation to an extent, because they are challenging the accepted programmed norms that people are downloading throughout their lives from cradle to grave. But if you keep going beyond where the majority, if you like, the mainstream of the alternative media is, then you get the same treatment from them that you get from the mainstream media. But, like I say, if you're interested in it rather than the popularity contest, then you keep speaking your truth, you keep researching your truth, and if it is truth, then at some point it's going to be shown to be so. And what is happening now with some of these more, these stranger areas of what I've been thinking about, like the nature of the holographic reality that we live in, is that mainstream scientific programs and studies, there's another one at the University of Bonn, and there are others around the world, are concluding that actually the mathematics, the science, points to the fact that we are living in a reality that is solid in the way that we experience it and we perceive it, but actually not solid in its base form. If you look at a computer system, what you have behind me here is a screen. And on that are words, and there are pictures, and there can be moving pictures. But that's not because the moving pictures and words and what have you, graphics, have actually been put into the computer in that form. They go into this tower, or they come off the internet in the form of electronic codes and electronic sequences of processes. It's the computer that decodes that information into what we see on the screen, which is very different to the form that it actually takes before it's coded. And what we call the human body is a biological computer. Biological in the sense that it's different from a technological computer, in that instead of like a desktop, it takes data and it decodes it according to the way it's told to and is programmed to decode. A biological computer can take information and it can assess it and it can make decisions upon it, which is the body's doing all the time. What we call the immune system is not something that we have to interact with all the time. We don't have to say, oh, immune system, there's something wrong down there with me leg, and you go and have a look. The immune system is constantly scanning the body computer, and it is making decisions on what it's going to do as a result of that. Otherwise, we'd all be dead. And so, in the same way, the biological computer we call the body is decoding information from this this matrix, this physiologically in the end, although much beyond any technology we could imagine. This technologically generated information source